Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's a great honor to share some of our recent research findings and interesting analysis about AI security, especially in the agentic world. And I'm Bo, the professor from UIUC and the CEO of Virtual AI. As some of you may know, at Virtual AI, we provide a unified AI security and compliance platform. So if you are interested in intern, or full-time, all the things, please contact us. Co-founded by many people you may know already, Dangsong, Sammy, Carlos, and me, myself. First of all, as we all know, from the research perspective, recently the models and agentic system, etc., has gone very quickly, and even out of our expectation. For instance, from the very important capability like reasoning itself, it has, based on the static benchmark currently, it has exceeded by human expectation more than 90% accuracy. What does that even mean, right? It can enable a lot of capabilities in practice, including finance, chatbot, customer support, a lot of practical applications. However, in this session, I think many of us care a lot about security, privacy, compliance, etc. And let me give some examples from the real world, like what has happened and what loss has been generated and why we care about this and how severe it is, right? So maybe some of you have seen, one of my favorite example is this back in 2016, the White House Associated Press Twitter account was hacked using phishing emails, spreading the rumor that the White House has been attacked, which is a very simple, typical, fake news, which can be easily picked up by human. But then the autonomous trading bot, as you can see, actually triggered a lot of stocks and purchase activities, and therefore swept about $136 billion within seconds, which exactly happens back in 2016. And now we are saying, okay, we have more and more, capable, good foundational models, agent, etc. Well, such mistakes or I would say not very advanced attacks will still cause big loss in practice, right? As you can see, actually, some of you may still remember from last year, the Lyft price was jumped about 30 to 50% within seconds, exactly because one digit typo in the annual report. So this shows that not only this models and agents, they are capable. On the other hand, they open a much wider vulnerability surface for attackers, for misuse, and even for normal users who can, draw mistakes and eventually could cause severe consequences. No mention, as we all know, the chatbot output could be biased, could leak sensitive information, and could also give hallucinated answer, as we all know the example from Air Canada. With that being said, as we can see, it's very challenging currently to build the so-called secure and trustworthy AI systems. And we have been working very hard on that from all the communities, and a lot of regulations and policies have been built around that. But apparently, this is a very big topic, right? From security, privacy, compliance, from attacker, defender, guardrail perspective, right? So how do we think about this problem in a holistic view? So here in this talk, since we don't have a lot of time, I want to give a very high-level overview about the principles and about this topic so that we can think along a line, maybe there are more or less components along the line, but at least we can join as a community to follow and focus on the principles. So first of all, let's say if we assume or if we take the AI system as simple as, say, a foundation model or agent enabled different, finance, healthcare, autonomous, etc. And the first thing we need to understand the vulnerabilities and weakness of the system is through something like traditional pen testing or stress testing for cyber systems. And here we need red teaming and risk assessment for AI systems, including models, agent, multi-agent systems, etc. And the second piece is that assume we are able to provide updated vulnerabilities analysis, zero-day vulnerability identification effectively, etc. Then the second thing is, of course, we hope we can fundamentally fix the models or agents. And that being said, reasoning, as well know, is very important capability, and how we can ensure current data-driven model can follow knowledge and follow reasoning capabilities. Although we talk a lot about the current emerging techniques and the capabilities of model with reasoning capability itself, but we know it's not really knowledge-based yet. Like we humans have common sense and we have reasoning over our experience in the past, but model is not there yet, unfortunately. So how we can ensure the knowledge-enabled safety reasoning to fundamentally fix a model through certain level of logical reasoning rather than only rely on purely data-driven models, that's another challenge. And finally, another thing is that basically, if the fundamental fixing the problem is hard, then how can we use them if we just want to quickly use the, somehow it doesn't show out, because this piece is important. Okay, so how can you quickly actually use it if we cannot fundamentally fix it right now, right? It's a long-term project, a long-term topic, as we can see. So the Guardrail piece, I think many of you have heard about it, is very important, not only for models, for agent and the multi-agent systems, so that the Guardrail itself can be an additional layer which can be tailored, could be a small model and could be capable, focused on this domain so that it can help and protect and separate the main capabilities and the security safety itself. So with that being said, here we'll show a quick video here as a vision, like assume we solve these three pieces as a principled way. And the first thing here is that assume we build an agent based on MCP protocol, for example. And there could be a lot of services and tools being available to choose. And here is a prompt injection attack that the agent will be attacked and send an email to the whole employee of the organization, but attach a malicious attachment here, as you can see, because of the prompt injection attack. So the idea of such protection is that it could be as easy as we add just another server itself as the agent Guardrail, so that it can allow you to compose or select different safety, security rules, policies that you want to comply and follow. And then you just click run, and this agent or this guard agent, for example, should run in the background all the time to monitor every action steps and the trajectories of your current agentic systems to make sure they are secure and compliant. And therefore, in the end, for any action, such as the action that's attach the malicious attachment in the email, it violates certain security rules and policies. It will show you like, okay, this action is alerted because it violates these following policies. So in this way, it have this allow human in the loop to track the actions and also allow that in the background, the human do not have access to all the action trajectories, which is huge, high dimension and also long trajectories. And we leave all this to a trustworthy and task-focused agent guard itself. So that's a vision for if we address everything, right? This is a prototype we built, and this is a paper that we'll introduce later. But essentially, this can be integrated, hopefully, to every different platform. For example, this is an example of an open source platform called Flow, and allow you to build different types of agentic systems. And with this being said, in this video, we want to quickly show that this is a relatively complex agentic workflow that we build for a finance agent, and then eventually here will be the prompt injection attack and showing that I want to buy a stock and I want to consider buy Apple stock, for example, unfortunately. And then if you run this agent, no matter what you tell, no matter what information from online for this a stock price comparison you give, since the agent is attacked, it will always access this attack itself and execute it, so that once you run the agent will always recommend you and actually execute it for you to buy the stock from Apple itself. So the idea similar is that can we add as simple as a virtual agent here, for example, to perform such Guardrail task so that you can configure all the things like say what policies, and again here in the dashboard in terms of what policy to add, what policy to remove and comply, with flexible customization, and then you can just go back and connect it as another tool or server, that's all, right? And then you can easily just focus on your agentic system capabilities and innovations, do whatever you want, and you don't need to worry too much. And in the end, if some actions or instructions are triggered or a malicious intention, this agent will tell you, okay, there is something, and here as a policy violation, please check it, and it should be alerted, right? And it will also eventually give you statistics about what policy is highly likely to be violated and what actions are highly vulnerable currently, so you should pay attention, and you can check out a lot of details here. So hopefully that gives us a high-level overview about what we, at least from our mission, from both research and the startup perspective, what we eventually want to achieve, so that a lot of AI researchers for us can focus on our capability and innovations and leave the security part with our focused research and focused model and continue to build it. So with that being said, like the two videos shows like prototype and vision, and concretely how we can achieve that and what's the obstacles from the research and from the methodology perspective. So I will briefly introduce those, and basically mainly on the principle level, and happy to discuss more details offline. So remember the three pieces, like risk assessment, fundamentally fix the agent or models, and a quick fix with additional component like a guardrail, for example. First, in terms of risk assessment, right? The main research question or the main challenge we face now is how do we assess the risks of models and agents in a principled way? For example, what's the perspectives we want to focus, right? Currently, we have seen a lot like privacy leakage, hallucination, and of course, like bias and fairness, all these things on weapon, and how do we articulate them? What's the principle behind it, right? So currently, we focus on two principles. Maybe there are more, but I think as a community, we can develop together, hopefully. And the first principle is use case driven. So use case driven means that maybe some of you are familiar with this paper, Decoding Trust, which is also the best paper from NeurIPS and like a National Security Agency. So basically, the idea is that based on use case itself, we can articulate different risk categories, including like toxicity, stereotype, bias, adversary robustness, OOD robustness, etc., so that you can focus on those risk categories and, of course, like sub-scenarios and advanced attack algorithms. So with this being said, you will provide a comprehensive risk assessment for LM, for multi-model here, for like agents, and then we also provide this like a Hugging Face hosted LM safety leaderboard based on the platform. And the second principle is like regulatory compliance risk analysis. So basically, as we know, use case is one hand in real life. On the other hand, there are a lot of policies, regulations, etc. How we can ensure like our model and agents are following those regulation policies for general use cases. This is very important. And with this, we have this one research called AIR, AIR, and also integrated with Stanford Helm leaderboard, continues to update the models and also include many different regulations, including like EU Act, GDPR, etc., and articulate more than 300 risk categories so that we can focus. So I think hopefully this could be a helpful pointer for everyone to look into the risk assessment itself. And with that being said, I want to quickly go to the agentic system side for the Guardrail so that we can focus on, after the risk assessment, the next piece is fundamentally fixing it, which will take a longer time. So I will skip here, but I think many of us are interested here in Guardrail itself, right? Because it's an efficient and quick and also effective solution for many of the, say, the models and agents you have built. For example, from the startup world, like one experience I have, which is really interesting, is that I talked to one customer and they said they have built hundreds of chatbots, but they cannot deploy any of them because of the security privacy concern, as you can imagine. So how, as research and as a community, we can help them and fill in this critical last mile so that those like very capable agents and models and chatbot can be deployed with trustworthiness and the secure insurance. So that's what we want to focus here. So one thing from the Guardrail perspective is that I want to quickly mention this is one paper, Shield Agent, and if you're interested, you can take a look. It's related to the demo that I just showed. It's like prototype and early stage for that. And there are several components. I want to like use 1 minute to go through it because I do think it's very important. First is that risks. We need the Guardrail model, whatever Guardrail agent, to understand the risk landscape, right? How do we do that? Of course, the current models can have comprehension about, NLP, about rules, etc. So here we provide all the regulations and policies as an input to the model. Nothing special, right? That's good. But as we know, models sometimes will hallucinate, and you cannot never ensure it follow or not about your models and the rules and the policy, etc. Therefore, the second step is very important, is that we articulate this safety rules and policies as, say, higher order or first order instructions or rules, so that this higher order logic itself ensures the model can follow the logics for the safety reasoning itself. And eventually, we ensure, map these different safety rules as say, an action graph, and the action graph can ensure the models to follow it, and then you can do actually verifications, model checking, everything, etc. So here will be with action graph, you can do a lot of checking, guardrail with formal verification, and you can integrate with different agent, MCP, A2A with different protocols, etc. So with that being said, just a quick summary of this talk is that 30 years ago, basically we have a map like this, and our computer looked like this, like time flies, right? And there was a paper called like this. And after 30 years, as we can see from the internet perspective, everywhere, no one currently do not have internet access, right? However, similarly for GenAI technology like ChatGPT, for example, this is recently this year, the statistic of where are the regions who have the access to ChatGPT and GenAI techniques itself. But as we mentioned, it's very challenging currently as a critical last mile to ensure those techniques are secure and trustworthy so that it can be deployed. So whether we can see, I would say, a wide adoption like internet for our GenAI technology, it's highly depends on how secure and how trustworthy we can make them, right? Don't know what will happen, and this right-hand side figure is actually hallucinated by GPT models and say, oh, this could be the future. But we'll see. Yeah, hopefully, as a community, we can build the secure and trust AI together. Thank you.